How's it going, everybody? We've got another Deck Tech video here for you today. This is Joe Snow once again. I just wanted to show you guys where I currently am at playing almost exclusively this deck. We're sitting right under 4,100. Actually, yesterday I was in the high 41s with it before taking a couple of losses. We peaked at number 3 worldwide with the current version of the deck that I'm going to show you guys today. This is my version 1 of the new monsters list, and this is the deck I want to talk to you guys about today. So before we get into specifics, let's take a quick look at the statistics. So far, I've logged 39 games with it, an absolute ton of monsters mirrors, and besides, a couple of games to Northern Realms and Scoia'tael, the deck's been performing very, very well across the board. Absolutely superb in the mirror, something my monsters decks usually do. Crushing Nilfgaard, not so hot against the other two factions, but very small sample size, and a couple of Skellige decks we did run into, we were able to beat them. So let's get to the deck, shall we? This deck is basically a very similar version to the list that I've been running for quite some time now, obviously with some changes. The last deck I was playing before the latest hotfix was a little bit greedier. This deck's a little bit less greedy and opted for none of the frost effects to try and help out the consistency in our mulligan phase. The basic idea of the deck, it is a Dagon fog-based deck after all, so we have the foglets here. Let's take a look at the other bronze units. We went up to 3 Harpies here. The Harpies, even though they took another point hit on their overall strength, they've gotten significantly better due to bears not popping eggs anymore. And also, since we cut Frost Dogs, we basically had a lot of extra space. So the Thunderbolt potions were a nice little addition, just a solid 12 strength bronze unit that we were able to get off in most spots, mostly due to the presence of Harpies, as these are pretty risky to do on Foglets, as it really sort of plays into weather clear. So that's not your optimal target. It's another way to do it. If you have to gamble, you have to gamble. But Harpies are your prime target for it. So those are sort of the core bronzes. Now, the more techie stuff, we have 2 more ways to activate fog in the bronze fog slots. And the reasons for this are twofold. A, we just want to be getting foglets down reliably each and every round. They're much more likely to stick now. So you're usually getting, 8 to 14 points off of these effects, which are really, really solid, A. And B, we want one of these in our opening hand for the most part, particularly in the Monster Mirror, because our Dagon hero power, many times we're stuck using him on Rain to prevent our opponents from going off with their own Harpy eggs, Fran Warriors, eating them, all that type of shenanigans that I'm sure you guys are very familiar with. So we can afford to use Dagon on Rain if we have another fog effect in our hand, which is a significant advantage in the Monsters Mirror match. The bronze ones being particularly good because Woodland Spirit, which we'll get to later, is a gold card, and we don't necessarily want to commit a gold card super early into the game, particularly since they're very likely to lead off on Harpy or have Harpy as like their second play. So the 2 bronze fogs have treated me very well, and I wouldn't consider changing them right now. We've already gone into the Thunderbolt potions a little bit, mostly synergy with the Harpies, but they're also great here. One of the tech cards is the one of Ekimara. This gives us a way out of rounds, and if we're super far ahead in a round, this is a way to just cement our board advantage and really punish our opponent for losing round 1 to us. In particular, when you have a potion, a Thunderbolt potion on a Harpy and a pair of eggs, eating one of the buffed up Harpy eggs makes a 13 strength Ekimara, which is a very formidable force moving forward into the next round, often by himself, will force the opponent to commit multiple cards. So even if you go down a card to win round 1, you can just sort of open pass against no carryover and expect to not only have them equalize, but usually get yourself up a card going into round 3, which is obviously great. We have the 2 Archgriffins. These did not start in the deck. As you guys can see by our matchups, though, there are a lot of monsters at the top of the ladder. They're absolutely everywhere. And due to that fact, we want Griffins. I played about 3 games without Griffins in my deck, decided it was immediately time to get the Griffins back in there. They're just so damn good in the Monster Mirror. Granted, they are awkward and they can be bad in other spots. They have other uses against, people playing Artuza Adepts and things like that. Once in a while, their ability does come up outside of monsters, but for the most part, these are strictly tech cards for the Monster Mirror. Currently, I'm happy with 2. I don't think we need 3 anymore, but the two I've been liking quite a bit. We have Marjoram here, and Marjoram is good at hitting spotters, giant buffed up units, etc., etc. But the real reason is for all the consume decks running around. It's absolutely amazing against Neckers. Completely shuts them down if you don't have a lock piece, which is great. Not only does it shut them down, but unlike Fiend, it actually also gets all of their strength off the board, which is, just awesome. Sometimes they can be 13, 14 strength, so you get a big swing, and their death rattle's gone. A lot of their plan for the remainder of the round also washed away with it. This also gives us another out to dealing with Gravehag. At the end of the game, you can lose to the Consume deck, basically just based on the power of Gravehag. The Gravehag's very, very good. It's often above 20 strength, and I've seen them go above 30 strength before. So having a Marjoram to deal with their last play Gravehag, provided you're able to maintain last say, is quite powerful, as this does just shut it down. You're trading a bronze for one of their most powerful silvers, if not their most powerful silver. And yeah, you can just win entire games off the back of it. The bear is a bit of a strange inclusion here, because we don't have Katakan, and even if we did, he's now doomed. So we can't eat him out of the graveyard. Why is the bear here? The bear is actually still just a fine, solid tempo play when eating a Harpy egg. It can represent, 13 points of strength, making it 11, and effectively boosting the egg by 2 by turning it from a 1 into a 3 at the price of 3 points of carryover, which comes up a fair amount of the time. It also allows me to move things between rows if something's going to die to a weather effect anyway, for example. In an extreme example, if there's a succubus going off, and I really can't afford to let my opponent have those points. It's just a nice, solid, flexible tool. May not wind up being 100% optimal, but for now, I'm liking it in the list, and I haven't seen any reason to really go ahead and cut it yet. So let's move into the silvers now that we've covered all the bronzes, and we're going to start with my favorite, the crones. I'm still on the crones, boys. I think they're still very good, very powerful. I haven't seen a reason to cut them. I understand that monsters do have access to a lot of other powerful silvers. This 20-point swing is just so invaluable. It's really good. It's our main firepower, particularly going long. Sometimes in the Monster's Mirror, what you're forced to do is commit like 2, maybe even 3 golds to win round 1 if your opponent really wants to go long, but you feel like you need to press the round. And Crones is basically a 5th gold. Granted, they can screw up your mulligans. Yes, you lose the games to it once in a while. It happens. I'm aware of these things. But it's effectively a 5th gold. It's super powerful, and it's one of the reasons I feel favored in the Mirror. To be fair, I see a lot of the other top players feeling the same way, and I've seen a little bit of a migration back towards Crones in all but the most consumey of consume lists, like the Unseen Elder list, for example, are generally not playing Crones. Then we have our Fiend. Fiend is just pretty necessary right now. He's great at shutting down, Neckers, Ekimaras, any nonsense your opponent's up to. He's a solid value play on a really big unit. Someone drops a 20 strength spotter. I'm getting 15 points off of it. That's pretty solid. Fiend has just proved invaluable over time. And yeah, I would not consider cutting the Fiend at all right now. I think he's just far too good, and he has far too many uses. He offers a lot of flexibility. He lets me unlock things if some of my stuff gets locked, which doesn't come up super often. But once again, flexibility is king in this type of mid-rangey value deck. And yeah, I think Fiend just serves a great purpose here. The Spy. I played probably about half of the 39 games? Yeah, I probably played about half of the games without this. Early on in the patch, this was actually a Katakan, and that was due to the presence of a lot of Queensguard decks running around. When Queensguard was there, usually like the first few hours after the patch, I think the Katakan was very necessary just to be able to shut down that strategy. I'd also had a Caretaker in at that point. Once that deck sort of faded away, I went back to the traditional Frightener. It works amazing with our weather, moving things around, plays with Igni, plays with Spear Tip, plays with the Hag. It's just a very, very powerful card, and it definitely deserves its spot in the deck. I immediately felt much better about the list once I had the Frightener back in. That brings us to our last gold, and that's the Water Hag. Although it's not quite as powerful as it once was, and that's mostly due to the fact that there is less weather coming in. The Lacerate effect is just absolutely insane. Plus, once again, the flexibility. It's another way to also rain out on Harpy eggs, which are these Harpies are everywhere. They're legitimately everywhere. So any possible answer I could have to them is great. And the Lacerate effect really, really ties in nicely with the Frightener's movement ability and Caranthir. This card's been invaluable for me. I've had 40+ point swings against consume monsters with it. They can pass 35 points up and just, nope, not today, sir. You just kind of blow them out. It is what it is. The card's insanely powerful, and particularly in this style of deck that has a little bit of a movement sub-theme. One of the bronzes I chose not to include is Drowners. That's because I don't feel they do enough. They might be okay if we were in a world of no weather and I didn't need these Archgriffins. At that point, Drowners might be worth considering just for the additional synergy with cards like the Hag and the Spear Tip, which we're about to get to. Also Igni. But in its current form, I don't believe that to be the case. And then to be fair, if wherever you are on the ladder, you're seeing very little weather effects, you could try them out. I haven't tried them out yet, but they seem like an okay fit here. And let's move on to the fun part, the golds. So, Caranthir. Caranthir's dead. Caranthir funeral party on Reddit. Not so. Granted, they did stealth buff his strength, a couple of extra points, which really helps. And let's talk about exactly why he's in here. A, the 9 strength body is really solid in monsters. As you can tell by this list and many of the other monster decks, monsters are generally lacking a big dumb gold stat stick. And while this is nowhere near, Hjalmar standards or anything like that, 9 is actually a very formidable amount to have on a gold body in a monster deck. Compared to Woodland Spirits, Ignis, Spear Tips, things like that. So that's reason number 1 why he's in here. Now, he is mostly in here. The Frost effect is fine. And let's say you get 3 ticks off of your Frost effect. You got a solid 15-point play there, sometimes more. What he's really in here for is that movement ability combined with all of the other points that I talked about. Now, if I wasn't playing Spear Tip and I wasn't playing the Hag, the Caranthir would not be in this deck. If I was playing one of the two, it becomes murky, and I'm not really sure which way I would lean on Caranthir. But while playing both, Caranthir is absolutely essential to this deck. He just sets up such disgusting power plays with the Lacerate and with the Spear Tip. And also that big 9 strength body, very, very relevant. I think he's super good in this deck. Spear Tip is a card that I had discovered basically the last patch, and still a huge fan. He's absolutely amazing. He destroys boards. It's not hard to get 20 to 22 points of value out of him. It's really not. And once in a while, with killing units and all the movement effects we have, you can actually get him to flip and trigger multiple times, which will put him above the 30-point range in overall power, which is just insane, right? Out of one card, that's kind of crazy. Spear Tip is great. He's absolutely integral to the deck, and I wouldn't cut him at all. Just play with the card if you have your doubts, and let me know how it goes, because he's just awesome. Plus, once he flips, the flip version of him is one of the sweetest premiums in the game, in my opinion. And we've got good old standby Woodland Spirit. This card's in pretty much every Fog deck since the dawn of time. He's just that good. He's a really solid body. He no longer gets decimated by bears if you run into Skellige, because, all the units aren't from hand. They're spawned, which certainly helped him out quite a bit. The Foglets are also more likely to stick since there's a lot less weather clears going on. Card's overall power level, just through the roof. He's amazing in this deck, and I would not consider cutting him. This is sort of the flex slot here. I usually don't wind up including Igni in my lists. In this particular meta, though, I think it's fine. When you have people building giant Vran Warriors with Consume, as well as the fact that Northern Realms is highly, highly susceptible to this card. Plus, if you're playing against Nilfgaard, you see Emperor Brigades or Giant Spotters. He just sort of finds a use in like every matchup, and sometimes he's the best card in your deck. Not to mention, if you play against the Dwarf deck, he is an absolute house, particularly with our ability to manipulate the rows a little bit. Sometimes he can just, be worth 50 points or so. Usually in the Dwarf matchup, he's worth like 30. But either way, I think that while it is a flex slot, he more than warrants his position in the deck list right now. And I'm very, very happy with him. So yeah, that is the basic idea of the deck. Well, those are basically the cards in the deck. What I want to say is that this deck, similar to the last few versions of monsters I built, obviously you want to win round 1, sure, but most decks want to win round 1. The key to playing this deck optimally is A, smart mulligans. Don't be greedy. when it comes to the Crones and things like that. You're going to have to make some suboptimal lines and know when to gamble. The other thing is stay flexible. That is one of the keys of this deck. You need to be able to think on your feet and be prepared for to make a plan and have your plan change suddenly because your opponent did something unexpected. And the deck's very good at adapting to what you think your opponent's plan is going to be. It's a value-oriented, flexible mid-range deck. You want to try and maximize value in most positions and be ready to change your plan, turn on a dime. Sometimes it's going to happen, and I feel like players with a higher level of skill, the deck will be very, very rewarding towards. It's treated me quite well. We actually started off something disgusting, like 14-1 or whatever with the deck. And then our win rate sort of leveled out afterwards. You're not able to keep up a 94, 95% win rate in, 4K plus. But the deck is overall still performing very well over a small to medium sample size of games. I'm going to be continuing to play it today on my stream. If you like the YouTube video, please subscribe. Costs you nothing. Helps me out. Appreciate it, guys. Hope you liked it. And yeah, there will be a link to my stream in the discussion. As soon as this thing gets uploaded, I'm going to go start streaming. I stream Monday through Friday, starting at noon Eastern Standard Time. Today's going to be a little late because of this video, but it is what it is. I will catch you guys later, and most importantly, enjoy the deck. Have a good one.